you will please join me and in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm trying to get my little flag into frame. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so before we get started, I would like to ask that we could add a quick proclamation to the beginning of our meeting. We could add that to the agenda.
Mayor, what would the subject of the proclamation be?
It is a proclamation recognizing the 75th Independence Day of India.
I would like to make a motion to amend today's agenda for the purpose of a resolution commemorating the 75th anniversary of India's independence, India Day.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I believe we have with us Dylan Shaw. Let me scan.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm not sure if he's logged on yet, but Mr. Shah is from the India Association of Central Connecticut. And so this weekend, they held a celebration up at the Capitol. And in recognition of the 75th Independence Day of India. So we have a proclamation to recognize this. And it says, and I will read it, whereas this month marks the 75th Independence Day of India. And whereas on August 15th, 1947, India gained independence from British rule. And whereas the town of Rocky Hill is made up of a diverse population, including Indian and Indian American residents and businesses. And whereas India Independence Day is celebrated each year on August 15th, and whereas the 75th anniversary marks a pivotal moment in history and a time of celebration. And whereas the town of Rocky Hill wishes to join in this momentous occasion and give thanks for the many contributions bestowed upon our community by our Indian and Indian American residents, businesses, and organizations. Now, therefore, as a community of diverse people, rich in culture, history, tradition, and experiences, I encourage all our citizens to join me in the celebration and to pay tribute to India Independence Day. Thank you. And now we will move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. So this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov or call 860-258-7682. And you will be provided with a link to attend this Zoom remote meeting and instructions on how to participate. And I do believe, I don't know in which order, we have 1, 2, 3 people in the queue for public comment. So perhaps I will then just call upon them. So I will first call, is Lisa Gilbert here?
You're on mute.
I'm on mute? Oh, Lisa's on mute. Let's see if I can see the full gallery. Oh, there she is. Okay. You're good now, you're off mute.
No, she's still on mute.
Oh, you're still on mute. No.
Still on mute. Oh, now you lost the video.
All right, Lisa, if you can hear us, we will circle back when we see you. Aha. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Lisa, try Alt-A, it'll take you off mute.
Okay, while you figure that out, we will not forget about you. I'm going to call, is there Ed Chicarello?
I am, yes, I'm here, but I'm part of the presentation for the Connecticut, for the Greenway tonight.
Okay, so no public comment?
No public comment at this time. Thank you.
Okay, and, okay, and then I believe the other two are similarly situated. Okay, so Lisa, are you able to try?
Can John Murphy unmute her?
No, I cannot.
Well, we could always make a motion to suspend the rules if she can get on. I don't think anyone would object to that. So moving on to appointments and resignations, Councillor Duff, do you have any?
Yeah, we have two openings to fill. One of them is to reappoint Ken Goldberg to the Housing Authority.
Okay.
And then the second is to, because Gina has moved on from Parks and Rec and joined town staff, we have an opening on Parks and Rec, and we will be appointing Ed Chicarillo to replace Gina for that term.
Okay. She can get on. I don't think anyone would object to that. So moving on to appointments and resignations. So now we can hear Lisa Gilbert, I believe. Deputy Mayor Sharmat, do you have any appointments?
No.
Okay. All right, why don't we move on to the approval of the minutes, the town council meeting from July 19th, which you have in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes of the town council meeting of July 19th, 2021.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to subcommittee reports, finance.
Do you want to go back to Lisa Gilbert for public comments?
Oh, is she? Oh, Lisa, hi, you're here now.
Hi.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can.
Okay. I just have been made aware of the Greenway is going to be a topic of discussion this evening. I want to make sure that the town council members are fully aware that the farmers are feeling that this is going to actually be very detrimental. If this
Ms.
is
Gilbert,
passed.
Lisa, can I just interrupt you for 1 minute? And I
Sure.
apologize, but we actually have two greenways on tonight's agenda. So I just
Okay.
want to clarify that I
Okay, well-
presume your comments are with respect to the designation of the greenway in the meadows.
To the meadows, to the Great Meadows, Rocky Hill
And do
Meadows,
you have
yes.
any comment with respect to the other greenway? I presume not. If you're thinking about it, I presume not.
Not as of yet. I have
Okay.
to listen to the presentation.
All right, so for the record, we're talking about the meadows. Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt. Okay,
Correct. I just want to make sure that the town council members are fully aware that the farmers that are the landowners in the meadows are objectionable to the greenway being passed through that dirt meadow road. For the record.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, now we'll move on to our subcommittee reports, starting with finance.
The Finance Committee met on August 12th. The first item, and many of these items are on the consent agenda this evening. So the first item is the appointment of our auditors of CLA, which used to be Bloom Shapiro through a merger. We appointed them as auditors for 2022 and 2023. with an annual fee of $54,600 and $55,650 respectively. Just a quick note on that. They've added a technology fee, which is included in those numbers. And that fee is basically to help secure the documents that we are submitting electronically. So they are doing some cybersecurity work, and that's included in our audit fee. And again, that's on the consent agenda, item B. We also approved some budgetary transfers of $83,000 on the town side. And we also made some moves, some budgetary transfers that will be used in future years, $48,000 on the town side and $200,000 on the Board of Education side. And that is consent agenda item D. We received, I'm sorry, I lost my spot there for a second. The fire department, we approved the roof replacement, section B at Firehouse 3 for $59,700 to Elite Roofing and Restoration of Middlefield, Connecticut. And that was the budget line item for that was $60,000, so it's right within budget. And that's consent agenda item A. And a couple of positives from the finance side. We received a refund check from Kerma in the amount of $53,049. And we usually receive somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. So this will be added to the miscellaneous revenue. We also received a rebate from the probate court. Their expenditures were much lower in the last couple of years. So we received $13,297 as a credit against a fee that's usually around $31,700. Also, FEMA issued their check in the amount of $12,161. And that was a greater expectation of money coming in. They normally were refunding at 80% and we received 100% reimbursement. So some positives. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 16th at 6 p.m.
Well, I think we should just stop the meeting right here. Just call it a day. But we will move on to government operations.
Sure. Government operations last met on Monday, August 2nd. Just some of the highlights. The Kenny House boiler is completed, as is the generator in Fire Station 3. Board of Education is working with planning and zoning on getting the Rocky Hill High School electronic sign installed and working by the start of school. It might already be up, but may not be working yet. That was kind of the timing. West Hill School HVAC replacement project is on and targeted to be completed by the start of school. The Community Senior Center project is on schedule, and I'm sure John Muir will go into that in more detail. That's an item later in the meeting on our agenda. Rocky Hill High School renovates new project. The audit from the state will begin, and that's kind of the major step to lead to get to the rest of our state funding, which is approximately $2.2 million. Hopefully we get most of just about all of that, hopefully. And Mosher School Intermediate, the Mosher Intermediate School, there's some things going on in the background, the change orders that still need to be done before the audit can start there. And so that will be a little bit further along the way. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 7th.
Thank you. Moving on to public safety.
You're unmuted.
Yes, the Public Safety Committee met earlier this evening. The fire department reported being up a little over 25% year to date on incidents responded to. So we responded to 69 this past month, and that brings the year to date total of 391 incidents responded to. Total training hours recorded about 275, with a special training that doesn't usually get to happen, where we were able to use 2 high-rise parking garages in Hartford for an off-site high-rise standpipe practical training, which went over very, very well. That was done in July. The Route 91 calls continue to be a dominating factor. I guess since July 1st, we had like 17 more calls added to the total of 31. In August, so far, 7 calls already. We're up 20% from prior year. So the Route 91 calls are taxing to the fire department, less so for our police department, because the state police usually man those incidents. There are 9 leaves of absence in the department, otherwise operating at a total of 72, 63 active, 7 new hires total for the year. They did a number of public relations events as our department started to get back out into the public, with on July 7th, the Kitty Academy Fire Safety. Approximately 40 children attended that. July 14th, the Summerscape Fire Safety recruitment. Approximately 120 kids and counselors. We have 2 new, very important gear: washing machines, extractors, high-tech washing machines for fire safety uniforms that are specializing in removing cancer-causing particulates. And there was a transfer of, a 2015 Ford Explorer was obtained by the fire marshal's office, and then the vehicle was taken offline that the fire marshal was using and sent over to the police department for, I guess maybe some repair work and what have you, and being used there. The department was recognized by the state for its handling of the PFAS transition. So the state recognized and is using the Rocky Hill procedures for transitioning away from PFAS. And the chief was quite proud of that. And the department is continuing to hold at 73% compliance for COVID vaccinations. Police department calls for service reporting now at 3,366 through July, which brings the 2021 year-to-date total of calls for service to 22,713 calls for service. 20 criminal arrests, 37 motor vehicle accidents. We are seeing that the car theft and thefts from cars come down for the last month, which is good news. But as the chief says, it's usually in waves. So a town will get hit, then it'll roll to the next town and roll to the next town. So what's not being captured are the trespassings that continue to occur that don't result in an arrest or a theft or a burglary from the car. So we're still monitoring that. The department is operating at full staff, still down the 2 officers that were awarded in this year's budget. So those officers have been identified and made offers, and we're still waiting to onboard them. And then at that point, we'll have 2 more patrol officers on the street by mid to late September, and we'll be operating at full staffing. Ambulance. We do have 2 officers, by the way, before I move on, that are out precautionary leave for COVID. They were exposed, but are testing negative and have no symptoms. So just to be safe, they're out and they'll be back. And we do have a couple officers on leave, medical and miscellaneous, but we'll be back. Ambulance has 78 members. They did 315 calls for the month, bringing the year-to-date total for calls to 2,281 calls. They have a joint EMT training class in the works, preparing with Newington and Weathersfield, because they can combine it and then they'll have a full class. I am not going to do the health district report because I believe we have the health district here tonight. Is that right, Mayor? So I will leave the health district. I will report finally that emergency management, the Emergency Operations Committee is on a 2-week rotation right now, and we still have not moved it up. So that's good news. We're staying with a 2-week rotation. The website is coming along. Eversource has given a new tool to emergency management. That tool is a way to make roads clear. So in the event of a storm that takes down power, the new automated website will allow town officials and staff, police, EMS, and fire departments to be able to access the site to see the tickets for the roads that are out. And the report will give them a lot of detail as whether they're secondary roads, primary roads, or high value roads with important facilities on them. And they'll be able to monitor it without having to chase down a contact at Eversource. And that will also be made available to certain public officials as well. So we'll have a lot more immediate information during a storm as to where the tickets for road repairs, tree removals, power line fixes are in the midst of a storm. So that's good news. And I think that's about it for the next meeting. Will be September 20th.
Okay, thank you. And I think, yes,
At least I was just going to suggest this probably a good segue to Charlie.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So, hello, Charles.
Hello.
How are you?
Having more fun than mortal man should be allowed.
Well, so here we are at public safety, and I imagine it's time for an update from the health district.
Yep. So Rocky Hill is total cases of COVID as of the 16th is 1,897. Total deaths remains constant at this point at 123. We are currently in the red alert phase. According to the state, Rocky Hill has 19 cases per 100,000 over a rolling 2-week average. Weathersfield next door is looking at about 17 cases per 100,000. Newington at 11.4 and Berlin at 8.4. So Weathersfield and Rocky Hill are above that 15 case per 100,000 threshold that really puts you into the red alert. Currently in Region 3, our hospital data, our adult ICU data got a little bit better. We're actually only at about 79% full, which is compared to last week was about 88% full. On the downside though, our pediatric ICU levels went up from 91% last week to 94%. Well, why is this concerning? Well, because right now our current vaccination rates among the actual 12 to 17-year-olds is about 51%. So, and as we know, those who are under 12 are not available to get the vaccine at all at this point. We have heard that the vaccination, that they may actually open up vaccination for to be fully approved here in the next couple weeks, which we hope will actually move people, who are vaccine hesitant, waiting on approval to actually choose to get vaccinated. But at this point, those under 12 don't have the opportunity and probably won't hear for at least another several weeks. With that, I'll stand back to answer any questions.
Mayor, emergency management and the health district are working together. Charlie, you have the flu clinics at
Yep.
Elm Ridge scheduled for October 5th and 14th. And should the need arise, those clinics could be converted or allow for vaccine clinics at the same time, correct?
Yes, we could if we needed to do that. We're also, as with respect to the amount of cases, we've actually converted. We had initially planned on having one drive-through vaccine clinic and then having one walk-in vaccine clinic within each of our towns. Because of the rise in cases here with the Delta variant, we actually have made all of our vaccine clinics for flu to be drive-through. And that's to assist us with keeping our vaccinators safe as well as those patients.
So Charlie, what are your recommendations at this point for the public?
Absolutely, the 3 W's are definitely in effect. So washing your hands, watching your distance, and wearing a mask. At this point, we would recommend that anytime someone's in the public setting, that they're wearing a mask regardless of their vaccination status. I know that the town, once the red alert level came on Thursday, enacted the mask within the town buildings and started to make some restrictions associated with appointment only. Really right now, because the Delta variant is so much more infectious and the number of vaccine breakthrough cases that we've seen with this has been increasing, we do recommend that everyone wear a mask regardless of their vaccination status. Those people who are vaccinated generally aren't going to the hospital. The vaccine still does a very good job of keeping people out of the hospital and out of the morgue if they're vaccinated. But having the vaccination will not keep you from, if you contract the disease, from potentially spreading it to those people who may not be able to be vaccinated at this point. So it's a very important thing. If you can get vaccinated, please do so. It does help with the type of outcome that you may have, but it also, wear a mask. It's just imperative that we do that.
And just to clarify, are you saying wear a mask indoors, outdoors, or both?
If indoors for certain in public settings, when you're outside of your own home and you're having to go in the public, wearing a mask outside, in other public settings is absolutely essential. Outdoors, if you're around large groups of people, then yes, wearing a mask outdoors, even in that context.
Thank you. I will open it up to the council. I don't need to call on you by name, just shout it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
Go for it, Jeff.
I'll go, Chris. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
I have just a couple ones. You mentioned, so the flu clinic, so kind of 2 things off that. 1, people should still get their flu shot as per usual, just like they normally would. And then 2, booster shots for COVID. Do we know about that yet?
Yep, they just came out with booster shots recommendation on Friday. Most of the recommendations you have are pretty specific. They are saying that their only booster shots are available for those people who are immunocompromised, and they have a list of what conditions that they consider to be immunocompromised. So it's best if you feel that you would need a booster, or you feel that you're immunocompromised, speak to your physician and ask what their recommendation would be towards getting that booster shot. Should not be any issue once it's been determined to be able to go anywhere that they're providing vaccinations at this point to get that 3rd shot. There is a consideration. They don't want people to be mixing shots, and the only type of boosters that they're actually open for at this point is the Pfizer and the Moderna. So they have not approved boosters for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at this point.
And then, one of the things that you mentioned that was pretty concerning was the pediatric ICU numbers. I think you gave 94%. We obviously have school starting soon. Yes. People who are under 12 can't get vaccinated.
Right.
There is what I would consider an unfortunate undercurrent of people who don't want kids to wear masks in schools.
Mm-hmm.
What I guess as I don't know. Could you give us the best data as far as the risks of wearing masks in schools and how it may help, in case people who are watching this have concerns about how to do best by their kids?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, the one reason and the utmost reason at this point to be able to have masks for those people who cannot be vaccinated, including those children under 12, is because it's one of the only strategies that we have that can mitigate, contracting the virus. And what we're actually seeing right now with this Delta variant, which is probably about 95% of the virus that people are contracting, is it's actually moving its way down the age groups. So we're actually seeing people that are 30 and below are the most people that are contracting the virus at this point. The combination of being unprotected and having a virus that is almost twice or over twice as infectious as the original strain, not taking advantage of any protections that we have to offer those who cannot be vaccinated, just seems to me to be highly irresponsible.
And for the record, the governor did mandate masks, correct, for the schools?
Yeah, and the mask, there is a universal mask mandate according to the executive order until September 30th.
Jeff? Oh, Chris, are you finished? Okay, Jeff.
Great, thanks. Charlie, you actually hit one of my questions, so I appreciate that. So you talked about breakthrough cases. Are you seeing any kind of statistical pattern as far as the breakthrough cases? Are these cases where more time has elapsed than others since they had their last vaccine, or is there no pattern evolving?
Unfortunately, we really don't get that type of data, so we can't really do. Don't really have a lot to provide you with respect to that. I think hopefully they're doing studies to be able to provide that data at the national level. Once again, I think that vaccination is one of the strategies to keep us safe. The other things that we can do are those 3 W's for sure, to set up that suite of mitigation strategies.
Right. And I mean, it sounds like at some point boosters might become available, but to more than just the group that you had mentioned already. But is there a certain amount of time that needs to elapse since your last vaccine before you get a boost? I mean, if you just say you got your second dosage, say in July, I mean, is it too soon to get a booster, or is it an apples and oranges type of thing? Or
I think what they're recommending is that you wait at least 30 days. That's, I believe, the recommendations. And remember, they're brand new out of the gate, so that's me going off of recollection. But I believe in general, they're asking people to wait at least 30 days from their last vaccination to be able to get a booster or any additional shots.
Right. Okay. I think you hit my other ones already, so I appreciate it.
Hey, sometimes I get lucky.
Johnny, a quick question. I think we talked about this a little bit in public safety as well, but can you break down the numbers for us in terms of hospitalizations, infection hospitalizations among vaccinated versus unvaccinated folks, and if you may, among children versus adults, at whatever level the data is available? It might not be available at a district level.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what they're seeing is the vast majority of people in hospital are those that are unvaccinated. We've seen numbers up to 97% of those who are hospitalized at this point are those that are unvaccinated. So the vaccine does a very good job for what it was designed to do, which is to keep you out of the hospital and out of the morgue. So it is doing its work there. As far as age group is concerned, I don't have a breakdown as far as the numbers or percentage of the young versus the old. Generally, though, what we're seeing is a larger number of those under 30 years old are the ones that are contracting the virus at this point. Viruses adapt, and they're finding that they're ahead of most of our elderly population. For example, let's look at the vaccination data for Rocky Hill as an example. So Rocky Hill, for those 65 and above, has a 95% vaccination rate. When you're moving down the age group for 45 to 64, has about 74%, 25 to 44, 75%. And then you work into the 18 to 24 and it's only 69%. And then the 12 to 17, 51. So as we're moving our way down the age groups, we can see that, those age groups do not have, the younger age groups do not have the, enough vaccinated to be able to kind of protect themselves as a group as they're among themselves. And we're seeing also the virus is maybe adapting to be able to target those people who are not vaccinated. I mean, it's a random chance as these viruses, because it's not an intelligent design thing. But as they find that they're more successful in one area, that particular gene strain will become predominant. So it will get more effective because it's finding more success in a particular age group. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Charlie, if I could ask a question. Right now, you mentioned Rocky Hill's in the red, and the governor has put a program together that individual towns have to set their own requirements. So if Rocky Hill's in the red, we're at the high end, we're not purple. I believe the color below is orange.
Yes.
So what are the protocols that would most likely be put in place in each range, and how do we communicate those as a municipality?
Well, I mean, that is something that each town, I mean, as we've been working with all 4 of our towns, we've been recommending them to look at the, what their specific actions that they recommend in each phase. So for example, in the red, they're trying to restrict large public gatherings, things of that nature, access to your critical infrastructure, which you've already taken action there in restricting access to town hall. Those are the types of things that they're looking for. In addition to that, right now, the towns have the ability to issue a mask mandate for any public spaces, to be able to say that you have to wear a mask when you're out in public. That is something to consider. And as CCHD, we would recommend that for any of the towns that we have in the red, because at this point, we're dealing with a significant portion of our population that's unable to be vaccinated and a variant of this particular disease that can still affect those people that are vaccinated. And the challenge of what we see is asymptomatic spread. People who have been vaccinated, we did a very good job, I think, trying to promote vaccination and telling people that, get vaccinated because then you'll be able to go back and do the things that you wanted to do before the pandemic. You'll be protected. You can go out and do your normal things once again. So I think people got that message, and we've had a lot of success in people getting vaccinated in Connecticut, but the situation's changed. The Delta variant, can infect those people who are vaccinated to a degree to which they can spread this virus unknowingly, even asymptomatically. So for us, at this point, not having a mask mandate in place statewide, to me, I think it's foolish. I think that individual mandates, town by town, really leaves us with a patchwork quilt, that has gaps in it. It would be much better to have a state mandate across the board. But my recommendation is, if we can take action and provide that protection to our residents, we should.
I just want to comment 2 things because I don't know that the council knows, but Newington was generous enough through their emergency management person to share their plan of action. So as we move and fluctuate from gray to yellow to orange to red, they sort of have an idea, and it's in black and white what they want to see done based on what the state recommendations are. And they shared that with the other 3 towns in our local health district. So we all are on that same page and we can work in unison. And then of course, there's this universal mask mandate, right? And, I go back and forth with it, but I really don't see with the governor leaving it up to the municipalities the benefit of Rocky Hill saying, everyone wear your mask, if Cromwell's not going to wear their masks and Newington, and frankly, even if New Haven and Stamford aren't going to wear their masks. I mean, you kind of, if you want to, have an effective public policy, right? We all have to be involved. I've reached
You
out
are
to
preaching.
Region 3. I've reached out, I mean, I'm called Cost. Cost is actually supposed to send out a survey to all the municipalities to get a feel for, what are you thinking? So, do you want to act in unison? Because the patchwork quilt is, I don't know.
Yeah. And
Right?
trust me, you're preaching to the choir with respect to the patchwork quilt, because I brought that up to the state at the last call that we had with the Department of Public Health, pleading with the governor's lawyers to make this a universal mandate, especially with, I think, 4 out of our counties being in high transmission rate by CDC. I think it's not a politically popular stance to be able to ask people to do this. But I will say, from a public health perspective, we have a suite of mitigation strategies, and every layer that we can put upon between ourselves and what that virus potentially infecting people that we can actually do is an advantage, even if it's a single town within the areas. Because, and I agree, the communication is terrible, because you're going from town to town. Do I wear a mask here? Do I not wear a mask there? It is a challenge. I will recognize that. But, my recommendation, is that if we can, enact that type of mandate, that it would protect the residents of Rocky Hill at a point where they desperately need it.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Charles, as always. Someday we'll meet on better circumstances, I'm sure.
I hate to say this, but I can't wait to come to the town council and talk about something, nice, like STDs or that would be a wonderful thing to do at this point. I have to be a public health person to appreciate that type of humor. So thank y'all for laughing. And once again, we stand ready to answer any of the questions that you have. We're here to be able to serve you guys, to provide those technical support and recommendations and what support each one of our towns needs. And we appreciate your support as well.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. Okay, Alan, what you got for senior liaison after that report?
Well, it's going to tie in a little bit, but first of all, we did meet on July 26th. We did welcome our new Director of Senior Services, Gina Marino. She shared a whole bunch of new ideas, programs, an effort she's making, and at that point was her first week. So it was a nice page or two of very specific details. I will leave comments on the Community Senior Center to the old business. And also at that meeting, along the lines of COVID, I guess I need to issue an apology for something that happened that meeting. We had a gentleman at that meeting stand up and tell us that he was unvaccinated and sharing his story. And I failed to stop that meeting and ask him to put a mask on. So for that, I apologize. I am now up to date on the governor's executive order, and should that circumstance arise again, we're prepared to handle it. But I think it caught all of us by surprise, and nobody reacted to it. So I can only speak for myself, but I should have done a better job with it. So let that be known. Our next meeting is August 23rd.
Okay, thank you. Land acquisition and farmland preservation.
So we did meet on July 27th, and I can share with you the progress report or project timeline that was shared at that meeting. So, so here's what's going on right now is we're still wrapping up. JV3 is still clearing out the larger physical debris, and that's between September and October 1st. I believe there'll be a series of inspection releases between October and November 1st of the site. We're looking at hazardous building materials abatement and demolition, 4 to 6 weeks. That would not be taking place until after February 2022. Grading plans and design work, February 15th through April 15th of next year. Further remediations, April to July, 8 to 12 week process, depending on weather and site conditions of the final parcel along the Britton Avenue that would be used for the barn and the community farm. A remedial action plan report to be prepared for between July 15th and August 30th with certain recommendations that they might find. Environmental land use restrictions from Connecticut DEP review process, August 30th of 22 through February 30th of 2023. So as you can see, there's a lot of different steps that'll be taking place with regards to moving that site along for public use. The farmers are still farming their fields, and I did talk to 2 of the farmers. They did not lose crops during with all the heavy rain. I don't know, John, do you want to add anything to the timeline for the Streska farm?
The only thing.
Nothing, John?
This, John?
Yes.
No, I think pretty much you read off sort of like the timeline Ray put together based on this Brown Street grant that the town's going for. We applied we signed some documents, sent it back to them. We're asking them to consider not having us have to rebid for the firm that's doing the soil testing and all that, so we don't have to, who did the phase 1 and phase 2, so we can move along quickly on and get to future steps and so on. So the only other thing, Ed, is that we did get a request for a name change to the farm, and I think that's going to be worked out among your subcommittee to try to come up with maybe a new a name if warranted for the farm that would be brought to the town council, that would go to the naming committee to hash out.
So there's 2 naming tracks. There's an application in for naming a barn when it's in place, and then there's a naming application for the actual full site that you're referring to now, and that application is in, and it's at the naming committee chaired by Jeff Levine.
No, right now it's with the land acquisition committee.
It's still it hasn't gone. Okay.
It was going to be
All right.
discussed at that last meeting, but I believe we didn't have the appropriate people there attending the meeting at the time.
Okay. We also had a request come in from the Rocky Hill Gardening Club, or a recommendation to recommend to council. So from the Farmland Committee, from John Malero, Chris Duff, and myself, and others on the committee, we're recommending that the council be prepared to allow some small intermediate things that might happen, events that might happen at the site, such as a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, Eagle Scout, or Gold Star recipient doing a project there. And one of the projects might be what they call a, let's see, let's get this right. It's a bird tower that could go at a very, easy to set up. John, what's the name of the bird? Thistle?
A chimney swift.
Chimney Swift Bird Tower. And it really stands probably about 10 to 15 feet tall, and it's a solid structure, and it doesn't take up much room. But you might see requests come before council to put stuff up like that, in appropriate spots. And the committee is recommending that you consider those as they come before the council.
It's being recommended because of the chimney swift likes to live in hollow trees, dead trees, and apparently there's a shortage of hollow and dead trees. So there's a movement to build these 6 to 10 foot tall, so-called, I guess, chimney-like items for them to live in. So we could become a sanctuary, perhaps, for chimney swifts.
The next meeting of the farmland will be on September 28th. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Was that August 28th?
No, the next land acquisition is September 28th, isn't it?
Do we have one this
No,
month?
August 28th.
Or the 24th?
John, the 24th?
Let me just find the land.
August 24th is on the calendar.
8/24. Thanks, Chris. August 24th is the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. How about liaison to the state representative and the state senator?
Our state representative, Carrie Wood, said that she was going to try to make the meeting to give us a legislative update somewhere after 7:45. She's coming from another meeting, so I don't see her in the queue, but she should be showing up.
Okay. School liaison.
Madam Mayor, there was no meeting, but I would like to take this opportunity to address a couple of things which, I've come across like in the last couple of weeks. A lot of parents and, residents in general have reached out to me and asked me about, school reopening, the issue of masks and everything else which falls under that, umbrella. So I just want to take this opportunity to direct everyone who is watching this meeting to the Rocky Hill Public School website. And the reason for that is that they are having very regular meetings through their subcommittee on school reopening. And the situation is very fluid, and it's hard to, pinpoint a strategy from a given week to another if you are not plugged in to those meetings on a regular basis. And I just wanted to call out that public school website because we are going to be in session in a couple of weeks. And as we get closer, I think there will be more questions. So if you don't mind, John Murphy, I will just share my screen really quickly because I hate calling out the websites because, a lot of times people are not able to fully understand. So I'm gonna just share my screen really quickly and then just show this website, which is rockyhillps.com/reopening plan. Everything you need to know should be on this, as things are updated through the BOE, right? And so the next meeting of BOE reopening committee is tomorrow, which is tomorrow is 8/17 at 7 p.m. And as far as I can tell, and I have known through this website as well, I check this website pretty regularly. It's going to be live streamed as well. And John Mayer, if there is anything else you want to add here, please feel free to do that.
If it was to me, I really don't have anything else to add. That's the Board of Ed's plans.
Okay, great. So I think.
I
one
believe
last-
they're going to be meeting at the high school auditorium.
Exactly. So that's what the website says. And I think it will be live streamed as well. If you want to watch the live stream, you can go here like Board of Ed and then click on live video. That should work when the meeting is on. So I just wanted to share this with people at home and, so that they are able to engage more effectively with the BOE on these questions of reopening. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to Capital Improvements Committee.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Economic Development Subcommittee.
Also, no meeting, no report.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to old business discussion, possible action, community senior center.
Thank you. The community center's pretty much getting completed. Right now, all the new furniture has been moved in last week into the offices and it's scattered out throughout the building and the activity rooms and so on. So this week, the Parks Department and the Senior Services area are moving into the new office space in the community senior center and so on. In addition, the exercise equipment has been installed in the exercise room and so on. So it's coming to be a good point in time that perhaps the town council should take a walk through to see how it looks. I'm suggesting give the Parks Department some time to set up. So perhaps Friday of this week or sometime next week. And then after the council does their review, then some of the design committee members could go through next. And then we might be able to open it up to small groups of the public with the understanding that we, in this Delta variant situation, so sometime next week. So I would just ask what would be a good date and time for the council would like to take a tour of the building. It's pretty much open. They've taken down a lot of the barriers and so on, so that the Parks Department can move their things in as well as other departments. If you want, I can throw out like Friday, maybe at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Again, as a time to go through.
This Friday?
This Friday is one time. I don't know, Alan, if you want to tie in a trip for the senior liaison meeting, with the understanding people should be vaccinated and wearing a mask if they do go on the tour.
John, the only thing I don't know, maybe I'm I'm listening to what Charlie said. We're holding a remote meeting and now we're going to have a public walkthrough. It's, I don't know. I'm not sure it's the best idea. That's just my opinion. As much as I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
At some point we have to follow someone's guidance and, Charlie's our expert and he's saying, don't do it.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Is there, I remember for Mosier, they put together like the digital walkthrough. Is that anything that might be, that the architects or the designers are doing for this that might go online? Pretty sure we did that for Mosier.
I don't believe there is one of those for the community senior center, Chris.
Worth a shot.
But that is a good idea, Chris, and I can't imagine that with all of our new equipment, we can't figure out a way to make that happen. So let's try to make that happen.
Okay.
John, do you want to continue to be, or I see that Representative Wood is here.
No,
Would you
no.
like to wrap up?
I think it's pretty much wrapped up. As I said, a lot of the trades have completed their jobs and the furniture's been moved in, and now people are moving into the site. So that's why I just offered the opportunity for the council to take a tour at some point in the coming week or two.
Yeah, that's cool.
Before,
Thank
but then
you.
I'll turn my rest of my time over to Carrie Wood.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Carrie.
Hey, everybody.
How are you? Thanks for coming. So
Yeah,
we're
thanks for
looking-
having me.
We're looking forward to your legislative update. I don't think that we have spoken to you since you guys wrapped up, right?
No, we have not officially, but I know we all chat all the time. But yes, officially it's been a while, so I'm really happy to be here. And if you see or hear dogs, I will mute.
Okay. All right, so what would you like to tell us?
Well, we ended the session, I think, with a really robust bills that were passed, considering what's been going on. We were all virtual up until the special session, which happened just a week after the regular session. So with the virtual session, it was really hard for us because there was so much public participation. Our meetings, which usually last anywhere from like 3 to 6 hours, were going from 12 to 24 hours. And there is a cutoff at the 24 hours. So there were many times where the 24-hour cap was met and, meetings had to be ended. So there was a lot of public participation. I'll just touch on some general bills that were passed, talk about the budget, and then talk about things specific to Rocky Hill. We do have a lot of nursing homes in the district, and we did pass laws where you can buy your own video monitoring equipment. I know you probably heard from many people in town that were devastated not being able to do that in-person visit with their loved ones. And not only can we can continue doing visits, but it can be done in a virtual way. So if the Delta variant or other variants come where that in-person one-on-one can't happen, we can now do virtual monitoring, which I think many people with the loved ones were active with that, as well as the AARP. We have a really great restaurant group in our town, and they advocated heavily on doing the outdoor dining, which obviously was something that was passed this past session, along with allowing them to sell to-go cocktails and their own pour machines and other things, just to keep restaurants going, giving them any tools that they could to sell, whether it's, to go or, having that. Excuse me.
Sounds like my house.
This is the best part of the Zoom meetings.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been gone all day, so they just want to lay on top of me. Education. This is a really tough area because there's so much need in what's happened over the past 18 months. A lot of mental health assistance to both teachers as well as children in schools. The Birth to 3 program, which in the past required parents to put in some pay for this, is now offered for free. Youth suicide prevention and training in each district. So I'm sure many people on the Board of Ed have already started working with the mental health district and the Department of Ed on this for Rocky Hill. A lot of the mental health professionals that work in schools now have to have expanded training for PTSD, suicide, depression, and grief. And there was also a bill that allowed children in school to have 2 mental health days during the year. We also established an Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities, and there were many people in Rocky Hill that were involved in advocating for this. And it just creates a dyslexia instruction and training program. Our camp counselors, believe it or not, did not have background checks prior to this year. They now are required to have background checks. A bunch of stuff related to domestic violence, including access to training orders and programs. 2 things were legalized this year that were extremely popular in the 29th district, but I don't know where everyone stands on it, but sports betting was legalized and recreational cannabis was also legalized. The environment is a huge topic. I hear from our Eagle Scouts and our Girl Scouts all the time on being able to do more environmental initiatives. We expanded the bottle bill. So the recycling is going to increase from 5 to 10 cents. And NIPS will be getting a 5-cent surcharge, which will go towards municipalities for environmental purposes. So I've asked for more explanation there because I'm sure all of us can say that every time we're out walking or running, there's a NIPS littered along the route. So how Rocky Hill can create a cleanup program for that, I'll get you some more information because that is something that people, complain to me all the time is, the NIPS get thrown out. Like, why don't we have a recycling program for them? I always tell people NIPS are not recycled by chucking them out your window. So we have to do a better job at that. A lot of help for small businesses. The Small Business Express program was expanded so that it's more flexibility and less administration to tap into these funds. I mean, the goal, I think, here on our Commerce Committee, I worked on this, is really just making sure small businesses stay entrepreneurial, continue to hire, continue to expand. And as we all know, Rocky Hills is just flush with the small business community. The budget came in under the spending cap, and it also remained flush in the rainy day fund. And every time we meet that 3.2 billion in the rainy day fund, we go towards paying down pension debt, which is a huge benefit and a big priority for me. We had about 40 plus years of our state governments not paying into unfunded liabilities in terms of pension and healthcare for state employees. And we are paying that in a huge way, I think more than any other legislature prior. For voting, I heard from a lot of people in town about they really liked the way voting happened last year, which is you could get an absentee ballot related, and for COVID as an excuse, you could get an absentee ballot. That will continue for November, but it will also go out to the voters. That will be it will be a constitutional amendment that people can vote on if they want to do absentee ballots. And that will be, let's see, I think it's 2023. I thought I wrote it down here. Oh no, November 8th, 2022. That will be a constitutional amendment, as well as for early voting. And I got some money for the VFW, a lot of money for Rocky Hill, for the farm, for Ames, for the Veterans Home, for Dinosaur State Park, Elm Ridge Park. And I don't know how long this will last. I think that having this type of federal funding coming in, as well as the state having money in the bank is probably short-lived. So let's take advantage of it while it's here. How else can I help? Please let me know. Would love to work with you on getting funding for Rocky Hill any way we can. And obviously the money that comes into the town through fiscal 2022 to 23 saw an increase, but anything else I can do, please let me know. I am all ears. Lastly, I will talk about the car theft and property theft issue. We made a little bit of baby steps this year regarding passing some laws that would have increased penalties for adults that are facilitating juveniles in this matter. That came from data from the State Police Task Force that showed that there are some adults, and adults are 18 years and older. These are for adults 23 and older. We did push for 18 years and older, but the, we had to end on that. So it's 23 years and older. Facilitating youth would have, tougher penalties. We are working on a special session version to address property and car thefts for September. There's a bipartisan working group that has been meeting throughout the summer. And there's about 12 points that are currently in agreement. Hopefully we can get to a few more of those before September. But I will say that this issue is really complicated. For example, there's a lot of talk of doing ankle bracelet monitoring. And when we talk to law enforcement, they warn us of the failures of this system if it's not properly enforced. In Waterbury, we heard from patrolmen that say they put ankle bracelets on and that the juveniles can take them off. They go the whole weekend without seeing their parole officer or guidance counselor, whoever is monitoring. And there's very little consequences for violations. So while this is something that you may have heard in a public setting, it really needs a lot of funding. It needs people. It needs, a real plan of action for properly being enforced. The working group is in consensus on early intervention programs and, more funding for after school activities. They are pushing things for expedited arraignment for juveniles. Right now, they're waiting anywhere from 30 to 60 days to be in front of a judge. This would have the requirement for 3 to 5 days. It gets the Department of Children and Families involved for repeat offenders and violent offenses, especially those involving a firearm. There would be an exception for time limits. Currently, juveniles are held for a maximum of 6 hours, and this would expand that if the arresting officer was able to get a grant by a judge for certain issues like posing a risk to the public and others. There's a lot of discussion right now on the motion to detain not working. So there is a study going on. There is also a juvenile database push. So right now, say a juvenile gets arrested in Cromwell, and then the next night they get arrested in Rocky Hill. The officers don't have access to the information that they were arrested the night before in Cromwell. The judges don't have access to that information, and judges and arresting officers are looking at these as a first-time offense, which I think is a disservice not only to the public, but also to that juvenile who, if they're doing this so much, I mean, they really need, they need extra, attention and lots of other things that, people who are working in this field have a lot more knowledge on. But the car theft, property theft issue continues to be a goal for the September special session. And, I would say that I would have loved to see something done sooner. I mean, we had some great legislation as recently as 2 months ago, but, unfortunately took some really bad actors doing some bad things for us to get consensus from our colleagues to be able to do this. And the Speaker of the House did convene a working group, and they are working to get something done for next month. I will say that I do try to get myself out there as much as possible. I sometimes hear from people saying things like, I didn't vote for you, but I need your help with something. I just want to say to the public, and none of that matters. I am your representative in Hartford. If you need help with unemployment, if you need help with healthcare, Medicaid, any of those things, anything that I can do to help you with state government, that's my job. And I will say that there continues to be a huge need in the public for access to services. The pandemic has hit families and individuals really hard. So, use me as a resource. And how can I help, the council and the town of Rocky Hill with any interactions with the state? I am all ears, and I think we've had a great working relationship, and I hope that we can continue that going forward. I'm happy to take any questions.
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Did the governor give the courts authority to look at juvenile records, but not the police that authority?
He didn't give any authority. The goal right now is to have the law changed so that juvenile data is not privileged data. It is currently privileged. Rocky Hill and Glastonbury may collect their own data, but the police are doing really good police work, and they are making arrests, and they're collecting DNA and things like that. But when DNA goes into a database and it comes out showing that there's no match, it's usually because of a juvenile. So the goal is to have access to that information on a statewide scale. And again, the juvenile that, was arrested 13 times and stole a car and killed someone in New Britain, this type of thing would prevent that from happening. I mean, maybe on the 6th time that the juvenile was, arrested, the judicial system would have done something different for him. So that line item alone, I think, will do great changes to what's currently going on.
Can you just review the voting again? Did
Sure.
you say early voting and
Yep,
absentee
early
ballots?
voting and absentee ballots. Those need to be voted by the public. So that will be, November 8th. Early voting will be up on the ballot as a constitutional amendment. And
what does
then,
that mean? Like, how do they define early voting?
so it would be under consideration. I think it would depend on what the towns can handle. So the town clerks would be at the table. I mean, right now, I will tell you that it is a little scary to the towns to say, if these pass tomorrow, it would be a lot of money and manpower to get something like this up and running. So I know that the Secretary of the State currently, and obviously there'll be a new Secretary of State by that point. So she'll collect information and pass that on. But, how can the towns handle early voting? How can they handle absentee ballots? The way they worked so successfully last year was the town hall was closed. So they were using rooms in the town hall or the community and senior center that would normally be used. So, and not only that, they had a really easy time finding volunteers, and that was because people were working from home. So there are a lot of challenges with how to implement early voting, and there's a lot of challenges to implement no excuse absentee ballots. So town clerks, registrar of voters, town councils, everyone will be at the table in order to make what early voting means. I mean, it will probably be somewhere like a week or 2 weeks prior to, election day. But also we have to keep in mind that election day is not just November 8th. I mean, there are primaries. There are other things that go on in towns. So, it's not just based on a presidential election year. So I think we'll see a lot of changes about, exactly what that means as we lead up to that. In our community, I heard nothing but positive things. I did, go down and see the registrars in action and the clerks. They were very happy with the process. they were able to get things done. But again, they did this in a COVID year when the town halls were closed. So very different than when things would be open.
I'm not going to monopolize Representative Wood, so Chris, do you want to go next?
Yeah, just a quick, so for the voting last year, everybody got sent a ballot in the mail. This year, it sounds like if you're still concerned with COVID, you can use an absentee ballot, but you have to request it instead of
Yep.
getting one sent to you. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and
That'll
it
be-
was, again, the Secretary of State's office played a big role in also providing the funds. So, things are going to be different moving forward. That was an unusual circumstance, but if you feel that you are uncomfortable going in person, I think it's November 8th is our, that's 2022, sometime in November when our voting is. If you feel uncomfortable because of COVID, you would be allowed to vote by absentee ballot.
And then I think they probably have different timelines, but in terms of both sports betting and legalized cannabis, I think there were some options that were available to municipalities in terms of what they may not. I mean, there's also who can get a license to sell and all that, but there's some options for municipalities in terms of what they can allow where. Is that
Yeah,
correct? What does it look like from a municipal perspective?
Yeah, you've probably seen some towns have already passed that they will not allow the sale of recreational in their district. I will just say that I was kind of indifferent about legalization, but it was extremely popular. I got hundreds and hundreds of emails, from people in Rocky Hill saying that they wanted to support this. I didn't hear a lot of outcry, maybe got 5 or 6 emails of people that said no. So it does seem like, the town is open to this. There are some towns that said they will absolutely not allow that sale happening in their towns. So it's up to you if that's what you want to do. We do have one of the largest medical marijuana growers in the country, if not the world, right here in our backyard. Newington Fine Fettle just got approval. They're just on the Berlin Turnpike. They are a top-notch medical marijuana retail provider, and they would be approved for recreational if they are able to get the license.
And then on the gaming side, is that all online, or is it the idea of in terms of business development? I mean, does that mean that someone could have a bar that has a sports book, or is that more like, I don't know, just run through the casinos and an app, or is it more like
pretty
neighborhood?
much run through the casinos? Unfortunately, I did think that should have been more of a free market. But we do have, Foxwoods is one of the largest employers here. They have a lot of state reps and senators that do cover those districts, and the casinos are going to be doing the sports betting online and in person. And I think the lottery, the Connecticut lottery, is also granting a few licenses. So.
And do we know if that updates the Pequot money? Because I think there's some concern, especially the folks in the finance committee, given how hard they got hit last year. It didn't look like the number changed in terms of the grants that the town gets, but it didn't seem sustainable given the hits they were taking from COVID. Do we know, if the online gaming piece goes into that, like should the town, even if we can't have a facility like that in town, might we still benefit from an increase there, or do we know?
I don't know if it's going to be an increase. I haven't heard that, but I heard just, sustaining those sort of town runs is probably the best we can hope for. But, I think as more casinos do come online, whether it's Springfield over the border, or there's, talk of a new casino in Bridgeport. I know there's new casinos just over the border in New York, new casino in Rhode Island. I think that, the money from the machines that the towns get is likely going to be, going down because of competition. I mean, ours is based on the slots. So yeah, I think anytime any new gaming comes online, that money is at jeopardy.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much, Carrie, for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, John, we're back to you under old business B, discussion, possible action, recycling coordinator consultant.
John, you're still on mute.
All that gaming talk. Last meeting, council authorized the town manager to go out and search for a recycling coordinator. We did find one. The mayor and I met with her. She gave a proposal of what her services would be. And in the packet, there's a brief resolution summarizing her term, her compensation, and so on. We're looking for a start date around September 1st and going to the end of June of 2022. And this should be able to help us educate people on recycling, as well as maybe shifting some of our solid waste from the solid waste stream into other streams that could be used for more ecological benefits, as opposed to just sending it off to a landfill. So there is a resolution in the packet, as well as a copy of the 2-page agreement with the proposed consultant.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion with respect to the resolution?
I guess I'll make to approve the town council resolution of August 16th to approve the recycling coordinator consultant as shown in our packet based on the agreement in our packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment on the agreement. Number 5, I just find it very unusual that an elected official is serving as being managing this project. It's usually a town staff member. Do we have an explanation of why?
I think that John just needs to probably strike that out.
Yeah, I think
It's not meant.
I think it's more that she might have been more dealing with Lisa in the past, that she just put that in there. But we'll just leave it. Will be managed by town staff.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So accept as a friendly amendment to Article 5 in the agreement to replace managed for the town by Mayor Lisa Murad to managed by town staff.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions or comments?
The only thing I had, and I think we're covered because it's right to amend scope. It sounds like this person can do a lot of pretty useful stuff, particularly if we explore new ways of handling our residential trash. It would be interesting if there's time that allows with this agreement, or perhaps in the future as an extension, to see what we can do on the municipal and the business side. Because it's great if people individually make choices to reduce their footprint, but obviously on the town side we have a much bigger footprint than an individual household does. So that would be an interesting thing that maybe they could look at, either as part of the scope of this work, or who knows what other opportunities might present themselves moving forward, especially if we realize recurring funds due to the the new bottle bill. But something to consider as well as we work with this person.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I don't know if I'm muted. No, I'm not. And I think that really is something that this will turn into, because right now, as Mimi and I know from going to all those CCSMM meetings, is that before you can implement any of those pilot programs, you really need to focus on the education component first. So we just want to start those conversations, right? And get as much out there, as much information out there, because what's really important, Chris, is that Deep now has funding, right? And they have a good chunk of funding, and it's specifically for small towns. So that funding is going to be available in like 3 weeks, is my understanding, coming up very soon. And so we really want to get in front of that. But the only way we can get in front of that is if we, start explaining to folks like what this whole new space is, right, for sustainable materials management. But yeah, I think that, if she were to stay on, that's absolutely the right direction. Anyone else? All right, then let's take a vote. All in favor of the consulting agreement as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Moving on, item C, discussion, possible action, Connecticut Greenways Council, designation of Greenway 1 Meadows tabled.
This was just put on the agenda because it was brought to the council a number of meetings ago relating to designating a greenway through the meadows. I believe the council tabled it, so it's just there that if the council doesn't want to take action, they can just leave it on the table and move to the next topic. But it's just for a point of reference that there is a proposal that was made, but the council didn't take action and tabled it for the time being.
Okay. And we don't have anything in our pocket respecting like anything.
No,
new,
no,
right?
it's,
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
it's just more informational to keep it in mind.
Thank you.
Is there going to be clarification on that proposal from a couple of months ago versus Greenway number 2?
I
That's a new
believe
business?
Ms. Ritchie is here to explain. Kim Rickey's here to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on then to new business discussion, possible action, police pension plan.
This relates more to the executive session, so it could be tabled and, or it could be addressed right now, depending what the council's wish is, but it's what it relates to the executive session.
Okay.
Topic.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to suggest tabling pending executive session.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Well, okay.
Actually, just a quick discussion. I mean, it shouldn't be tabled. It should actually be moved after executive session, because if we table it, then we have to make another motion to untable it versus just moving it like we normally do.
John,
It's like moving.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. That's fine.
that sounds like a better plan, John. I should probably withdraw my request to table and just a little known maneuver, move the possible action on police pension plan till pending executive session.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. Now we are on new business B, discussion, possible action, Connecticut Greenways Council, designation of Greenway 2. And we have 3 people here tonight, Sandy Kelly, Ed Ciccarello, and Kim Ritchie, who are going to either present or comment. And I don't know who would like to go first.
If I could, by way of introduction, and then I'll turn it over to Sandy Kelly and Ed Ciccarello. I don't know which order. I'll just provide a brief introduction. These are the 2 people instrumental in putting together this application, as they did the other application. There was a lot of thought involved. They looked at our plan of conservation and development and realized that one of our main goals and focuses in our plan of conservation and development is a creation of a connected open space system. They work very closely together. They came up with an excellent idea in connecting our town parks. They presented it on August 4th to the Plan Implementation Committee, and the Plan Implementation Committee suggested, as they have in the past, to move it forward to the town council. They did so with a very favorable review. And with that said, Sandy and Ed.
I'll start off and then Ed will also add to it. Thank you. I don't know if I have to identify myself, Sandy Kelly, 25 Tollgate Road for the record. So tonight we're presenting version 2 of the Greenway. And just for, to refresh you, the Greenway is a program run through the Deep Greenways Committee. And it's basically a corridor that connects open spaces in town with historical areas and areas for recreational opportunity. So in your packet, you have a map of our version 2, the application, and a resolution, which is a template. And this can be modified. It needs to be when hopefully this is approved, then the mayor signs the resolution and everything gets forwarded to Deep. So as I said, Madam Mayor, I believe I sent this to you, and it's open to edits, wording that you like better, or if this is acceptable, that's great too. So as I said, the Greenway, it's a corridor connecting open spaces. I took the liberty of getting in touch with Lori Giannotti, who's has been the woman I've worked with at the Deep Greenways Commission, just to make sure that this satisfies the requirements, because I don't want to bring this to all of you and take your time until I'm sure that we have something that would work if you approve it. So she said, yes, this looks fine. It meets their requirements. So of course, now we're bringing it to you all to look at it and to hopefully approve it and to understand it. And so from here, I'll let Ed talk about the specifics. He's going to do a screen share because you have a map that shows where the path goes or the route goes, but you don't have the specifics that Deep will want, that tells why are we going to Quarry, or why are we going to Dividend Pond Trails, or why are we stopping at the ferry park. So I'll let Ed has already got it up on a screen, so I'll let him take it from here.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Kim, for moving this through. As you see, it says the Rocky Hill Greenway, and it's a nomination for the Connecticut State Greenway System. If you look at the map, it's a little bit better map than you have. You have a copy of it, but it's a 4-mile north to south route. And if I expand it a little bit, you see that it starts up in the north at Quarry Park, coming out of Esther Road, down Riverview Road. You can go either to Ferry Park or Sowilla Park from that point on, then up Pratt Street, down Dividend you can go to Buckley, down Oak Street, continuing down Dividend to Dividend Pond. So some of it's on the road, as you see here, and some of it is on the trails. This is based on our plan of conservation and development. We didn't just make it because we're tree hugging environmentalists, even though we are. But you see in the 2015 plan of conservation and development, it says to establish a riverway trail and to reestablish a connection between the community and the Connecticut River. This is partially what we're doing here, establishing a river trail. And secondly, creating an open space system by interconnecting open space areas into an overall system, an integrated green belt. Those are quotes right from our plan of conservation and development. So that's exactly what this Greenway does. And what we needed to present to the state Deep was a description. And one of the things you don't have, and I like if we could send it to you possibly, is the description, and you can see it here. Again, I'm just going to briefly go through it, starting at Quarry Park and going all the way to the south. And you might notice already, you might know already that Quarry Park has 3 miles of trails. So if you start at the very northernmost part, you could walk 3 miles and then you're going to be coming out, oh, I'm sorry, this way here. You're starting at Matson and if you walked all the way to the end of it, you would come out Esther Road. Now, this is a public entrance and exit. Yes, it goes by some houses. There's a public path. And we've just put the town has just put some wayfinding signs there on Esther Road to let people know about the quarry. And if you haven't been to the quarry, you know that, well, if you've been to the quarry, you know this is what it looks like from Lookout Point. It's one of the most beautiful places in Rocky Hill to look out at the valley. And it is an historic, the quarry is an historic landscape. That's a picture from the quarry from the Historical Society in the early 1900s as it was an actual quarry. And I'm hoping at some point to actually do what we did at Dividend. We put some signs along the way to show the history. And so if you leave Quarry Park, you'll walk down Riverview Road. And just recently, we've added some historic district signs on Riverview, because coming down Riverview from the Esther Road, you'll walk down the Rocky Hill Center Historic District, going past Shipyard Park. And once you go further, you get down to Glastonbury Avenue, then you enter the Rocky Hill Glastonbury Ferry Historic District. You could take a left, go down to Ferry Park if you wish, or you could take a right going down to Sir Willow Park. Of course, you know, you'd pass the condos. Oh, they're not there yet. But we have a proposal, right, for a new park down there, Tolosano Park, which is slated to be right here. So then if, as I said, if you wanted to come south, you would head to Cirillo Park or come back, continuing the Greenway, going up Pratt Street. You pass the new restaurant. There's Cirillo Park. And going up Pratt Street, you'd be in the Rocky Hill Glastonbury Ferry Historic District, going past houses that are literally from the 1700s. If you wanted to stop at our Center Cemetery, you could also stop in Center Cemetery or walk right through it. It's a beautiful place to walk. And you end up down at Buckley Park. Go down Dividend Road and you'll go to Buckley Park, which is, here's Dividend coming down Oak Hill. And you have about a mile of trails at Buckley Park if you wanted to do that. You have beautiful views of the Connecticut River. Coming back out and still heading south, you'd end up going through the industrial park and you would head to Dividend Pond. And those of you who know Dividend Pond know that we have 10 archaeological sites down there and 3 miles of trails. It's a beautiful area to walk. And of course, the waterfalls is one of the main attractions now in our town. We just recently put a mountain biking, bite my tongue, a mountain biking trail up at Dividend. And so that would be the end of it. Again, this matches our plan of conservation and development. And that's the description for the Rocky Hill Greenway. So if there's any questions or any more comments from Kim or Sandy, I'll pass it back to you all or for questions.
Thank you, guys. I was going to tease you and say, does this comply with the plan of conservation and development? Because you told us 12 times, I think, that this is what we're supposed to be doing. So we get it.
Yeah.
I just have, before I open it up, I just have like more, I think they just might be edits. So let's just get those out of the way. On the resolution itself, I don't understand the title. Like the third sentence, as complied in May 2021. What does that mean?
Lisa, I don't have it in front of me because on my iPad, I don't,
I think what you're trying to say, you're supporting the application as applied in May.
can somebody, yeah, can you pull it up so I can look at it? I'm sorry, Ed, do you have it handy? The application, the resolution?
Yeah,
I need to look at the sentence. No, no, it's the resolution. It's whereas.
I think the word is compile, should be compiled.
Compile, yeah.
But we're not, this is a completely separate one. Or
Well,
is
this
it the same basis, but you've just changed the path?
I did edit it from when it was through the Meadows to just say Rocky Hill Greenway. So maybe, a verb tense got misused, or maybe there's a typo. And if it says compiled versus complied, that's probably a typo.
That's not really, but more to the point is the D. I don't think we should be referencing something that we haven't agreed to move forward with.
Well, this is the last,
references the
yeah, you're right.
original.
You're right, Madam Mayor. This is the last step. This is after all of you look at this, hopefully make a motion tonight to approve. And then when it's agreed upon, then you take this resolution and you work it to the way you'd like it to, if you want it in your wording. As I said, this is a template. This is, I
Right,
tried
but
to.
do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to do something that's not what you're thinking. So just for clarification, if you reference May 2021, that's the original application you presented us with. So we don't want to reference that. We're going to just say we don't even have to need a date because this is.
Exactly.
Is that your understanding? Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah, fine.
Okay, thank you. And then on that Greenway, I don't know, what are you calling this, the application?
Yeah.
My only question here, okay, name of Greenway, you call it the Rocky Hill Greenway. Then on number 10, it says, is the segment submitted for designation a key link in an emerging Greenway? And you said, yes, the Rocky Hill Greenway. So do we already have a Rocky Hill Greenway that's coming and this is a part of it?
No, we're christening this as kind of, this is our Greenway.
So I think the answer is no. I could be reading that wrong. John, do you am I reading? Go ahead.
What's your input, Ed? I think it may be a matter of interpretation, but Ed, what do you
think? Yeah, I do have a letter from Parks and Rec. We presented Walk Bike Rocky Hill presented a Park and Rec, a bicycle route that we were calling the Rocky Hill Bikeway. And so in essence, this Rocky Hill Greenway could be part of that larger Rocky Hill Bikeway, which connects all of the parks in town and connects the farms as well.
But that's not before us. So that's before Parks and Rec. And I don't want to get involved in that. So I think this has to be named. And Dana, maybe, I don't know if you want to jump in. I know that, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but the name of this, and then as that applies to number 10.
You could leave it no. You could leave it no.
Your yeah,
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
To me, and sorry to happen, to me, it seems like the Rocky Hill Greenway would be our piece. And then if there were an emerging Greenway, it would be something like the Connecticut River Greenway that we would tie into know, Newington or Cromwell, Weathersfield, that type of thing. I don't know if there's a previously named one that we're establishing a link to.
Yes, yeah. So I think for now, maybe it should say no.
That's fine.
And then lastly, just two more questions to John. Are there any concerns? Should we have any concerns about encouraging folks to walk and bike in areas that are not necessarily friendly or conducive, like going to Cirillo Park? I mean, I walk there with my kids all the time, but the road's like this big, right? And so once we tell the public, and this goes up on the state's website, do we have any concerns or it's no concerns?
Yeah, I don't know about the Cirillo Park one because that's not really heavily traveled. It's just the Dividend Road one would be heavily traveled, and I don't believe there's sidewalks or many sidewalks on that section where I guess you sort of think a walk is sort of away from motor vehicles in a sense.
May I make a comment to that?
Yes.
This greenway is to be walked or biked. I mean, you could drive it in a car. If you wanted to get from Quarry to Dividend and see all of it, you could do it in a car. So I don't think you have to believe that people will be walking Dividend foolishly. It's perfectly bikeable. I do it I live further than Dividend, and I've done it down to the ferry and whatever on a bike. And it's like biking anywhere else in Rocky Hill. You just have to be careful. You know, you go down Brook Street and you have to be careful. I just wanted to make that comment that this is not necessarily all of it to be walked. It could be traversed any way you want.
And then, Kim, are there any concerns from your department with respect to the layout of this trail?
Well, we have discussed it. That's why we brought it to FAM Implementation Committee. We were all in favor of it. We did discuss the Dividend Road area specifically. We also talked about circumventing Dividend in a pinch and going through Center Cemetery if need be, just to get through. Keep in mind, we're not, it's just a designation. It's not the creation of a trail. It's the connection basically in a designation.
Okay.
I know we have the issue with the other application. It's not necessarily bringing more people doing what they already do, because people do this all the time. People go from Quarry Park and then hear about Dividend and they go down to Dividend, whether it be typically on bike or in a car. So once again, it's a designation. There will be signs. I believe we have the right to put up signs along the way with respect to the Greenway. I think it's just kudos for the town of Rocky Hill. We can also tie this into our connectivity plan to the river, which is one of our goals. We also want to tie this into our sidewalk plan, which the Plan Implementation Committee is looking at also. So that may bring forth additional sidewalks in the area.
Right. Those were my technical questions, so I will be quiet now if anyone has any questions or comments.
I just want to confirm with Ed and Sandy that this particular Greenway designation does not go into the areas where the farmers are. Is that correct?
You can see by the map, it's nowhere near the farmers.
Yeah, I'm just confirming it. I just want to confirm
Yeah.
that.
It mentions the ferry as one of the destination points, but that's the furthest north it goes by the river. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about the farmland.
And is it an intention at some point perhaps to go back to Plan 1 and include that as well somewhere down the line? Is that still in the works?
Point, we're just, we put a lot of energy into this because we really want this for Rocky Hill, and these are amazing points that we were able to tie together. I would be hard pressed to find these kinds of historic and recreational spots in other towns. So I think we're really lucky, and we worked hard to have something to present to you that we think will be passable.
Yeah.
No, that you answered it. Did you answer the question though? Did she answer the question?
Yeah, I did. I said it doesn't mention the farms or the farmland.
No, I think that was her question.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard
to add that.
I'm sorry, Mimi.
Is that still something? No, I know I'm having a hard time.
I think the question is, will we go back to the other application? If is that correct?
At some point, like if we get this goes through and then a year or so, maybe you'll want to add
Oh,
on to it.
I really don't know at this point.
Well, if I could jump in, that's already been brought to the town council, Mimi. That's in your hands.
Right.
Correct.
Because I would suggest that if we were to do that, some language recognizing that we've been designated as a farming community, and having some protection for the farmers might be just beneficial if we go to that route, but it's not necessary for this one.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Can I just clarify on that question? Because that was a good question, Mimi. Sandy, the Ferry Point portion that's highlighted, does that just go to the park at Ferry Park, or does that go up to the gate?
No, it highlights Ferry Park because, you know, that was the first designated blue way, I think, in the country. There's some very interesting history to our ferry crossing. As we all know, it's the oldest ferry in the country, et cetera, but it's also a designated blue way, I believe is what they call it. So we wanted to make a stopping point there, but it's the Ferry Park.
Is it true that one of the requirements is that you can't have motorized vehicles on a greenway?
You know, I think what has happened no, because there's a farm in, is it Cheshire, where the greenway cuts right through someone's farmland, one of the big nurseries, and they have their tractors there. I think some of this wording was done a little too broadly. I mean, they're thinking cars, dirt bikes. That's their intention. But because I did talk to Lori about Lori Giannotti at the Deep, about a couple of the concerns that were brought up in the last presentation to you folks. Mentioned motorized, and she said absolute tractors, farming equipment, never. Landowner equipment, never prohibited. No.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
I understand.
Once it's approved, this one's approved, that there's a technicality to say that portion from Glastonbury up to Ferry Park, where tractors go in and out of the meadows, that somebody doesn't say, well, there's a rule in there that says you can't have motorized vehicles preventing tractors. Obviously, cars are going onto the ferry, but if it goes up to the gate, I don't want somebody pulling this rule out saying, well, farmers can't go on it.
Well,
I just want to make sure that that's black and white.
Look at the existing route in this version too. It's all motorized vehicles on all the roads. So, yeah, and we're not talking farmland.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just had a couple of questions, one of which I think I know the answer to, but I just want to make sure it's crystallized. Because these are just designations, it looks like to existing trails or walkways or streets, there should not be any additional costs as far as Parks and Rec goes on an annual basis to maintain anything, right? Because it's just a designation, right? Okay. Secondly, does such a designation create any limits on future development in any of these areas, specifically not the parks, but like the areas where it's along streets and things? Or does it?
No, because they would be stepping on our zoning toes, and they can't do that. That would be. I think I'm right, Kim. Correct me if I'm right, but or wrong. But Deep can't come in on our zoning in this. I mean, even if it was a wetlands or a waterway, we still have our own commission that governs that. If I'm being too broad, does that make sense?
The public streets, they cannot designate. They cannot tell us we cannot develop those. And the parks are already set aside as open space, so those will not be developed. If you want to put ancillary services at some of the parks and can get through planning and zoning in the wetlands, that's fine. But they cannot take those designations away.
What it may do, Jeff, is it may help the town in marketing, because once people see, hey, geez, there's a greenway, that people want walking areas, you know what I mean? So that could be beneficial when they sell the condos over at Jennifer Way, that abuts Buckley Park. and they bring in Buckley Park as an amenity. So people want to live by those places, you know what I mean?
No, understood. Yeah, I just want to make sure there's not like a consequence we're not foreseeing that could tie our hands somewhere, but it doesn't sound like that's the case, so. That's all I have. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm just looking it up on my phone because that made me anxious. Okay. The question about like development, like, yeah. Okay, so now that Councilor Manuel brought up that gate and you're saying it stops at Ferry Park. So I understand where Ferry Park is, obviously, and the space there. But that road that leads up to the gate, is that all encompassed in your path, or is it at the Ferry Park sign? And that's it, that ends right there.
As far as any visitor would know, you go to Ferry Park and that's a terminus point.
Mhm.
That's how we've designed it. Wouldn't you agree, Ed? I mean, that's.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the town could decide if we get signs. I believe that state greenway signs are part of this, Kim, am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
So, you decide where you want to put the sign.
I think it might even be nice to have a sign that says on that gate, this is not greenway space, or what, I don't know how you figure that out. I mean, but I think.
Well, if I may, you folks have not ruled on the previous one yet. You know what I mean? So I would suggest that before we, we're talking about the meadows and the farmland and whatnot, but you need to rule on that. I believe that there was discussion as to bringing in the state, Lori Giannotti, because you had some questions, right? Ed, am I correct that there were some questions that you had about, the meadows? And so that's a separate thing right now, isn't it?
Well, this is what we have on the agenda before us. So, and we have to rule on this one, decide on this one first. So on this one, I'm just throwing it out there that if signage is available, we may want to put something up there until we reach that determination with respect to your other plan, because right now that's not incorporated in this plan. And since there is that floating out there, I would like to see that people understand, yeah, when you come to Ferry Park, you're not continuing into the meadows. Because I could easily see, folks coming down and just walking and saying, oh, look, let's continue down here. So I'm just throwing that out there.
And I guess I'm pushing back to say, why wouldn't you want somebody to walk out there?
Well, because that's a completely different greenway than we've established. Now we have two different ones. So for purposes of the one that's before us, I just want to make sure that we understand the boundaries of it.
It's a
And
public.
that the public understands the boundaries of it with respect to the map that you generated.
I understand.
Okay, so any more questions or comments?
Lisa, I do think the placement of the sign, should a sign be given to us for the Ferry Park terminus? I do think that will have a lot to go towards what your concerns are. To Ed's point, those are roads that were blocked off for vehicular traffic in the past, which that unto itself increased the pedestrian traffic and bike traffic because vehicles weren't on those roads. But that's a separate discussion. But I do think the placement of the sign and any rules associated with the greenway would have a lot to do with discouraging people from maybe access.
Wandering.
And Kim,
Fair enough.
and this is new to us, right? So it's the first time I think we've had to tackle the concerns around this designation, but this isn't really a new concept as far as I'm aware of, and I believe Weathersfield approved it. So Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are other places that when we have these questions regarding implementation of a plan, we could reach out to them and understand what their best practices are to make it work for our town as well, right? I mean, we're not breaking new ground on this, or are we?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, the Plan Implementation Committee did have a meeting with Peter Gillespie, the town planner in Weathersfield, to talk about complete streets. And one of the issues that they did talk about, one of the items, was the trail that they are involved with in association and concert with Goodwin University in East Hartford, with the state of Connecticut over the Route 3 bridge in the Weathersfield Meadows. So we did have some conversations with them, and we did get some education on greenways and trail systems through the town of Weathersfield.
Okay.
So I had some questions regarding, so I think one of the big things on the first Greenway was just that, and I won't speak for everybody, but it was, I felt like, you know, I didn't have a lot of lead time on it. I felt like it was a new idea, and then we did have equal number of residents talking for and against, for various reasons, that Greenway number one. And I do remember us saying that we thought the two groups, the farmers and the Greenway component team, should be talking. Have you talked?
We've been concentrating, well, I know in my office, we've been concentrating our efforts more towards this particular item here. We as a group have not, to my knowledge, sat down with the farmers as of this point in time concerning application one. I don't know, Sandy.
Because I think the answer to Mimi, Councilor Thoreau's question is that, in fact, if two could get into place first, and Weathersfield has their piece in play, there'll be a lot more pressure to go back to one and make the whole thing connect. So, I mean, I don't see how I mean, they are separate, and there may be a good reason that one never gets approved, but by putting two into play, the hope is to get one into play. And I think that I sense that very strongly here. So I'm concerned that we haven't talked to or brought the farmers into the mix on this for both one and two, you know, not just because it's, and then I also was wondering about, Sandy, you're on Open Space and Wetlands Commission, and they're very protective of has this gone through their committee in any way? And then maybe also the committee that we're sitting on together for farmland preservation and open space, you know.
There's I don't really know, Ed, why it would have to go through wetlands. Things go to wetlands when a permit's involved or where there's a disturbance or an infraction. This is taking something that has been designed, agreed upon, approved, and just putting another label on it. I'll be honest with everybody. I'm very distressed that we're trying to now add number one in here as a missing link and a wild card. And I sense it's making people concerned. I mean, we're just trying to do something good for Rocky Hill with an alternate plan because it was a hot button issue with the Meadows. So we're leaving the Meadows out of it. We're not talking about the Meadows. We're stopping at Ferry Park. We're doing something for the town. You know, maybe some people never saw Quarry Park, or maybe they didn't know about Buckley, which is a sweet little 1 mile hiking location that you can go and relax, or the beautiful scenes at Cirilla Park. We're just trying to help people appreciate what's in Rocky Hill. We're not trying to get anybody riled up about alternate plans that we've got in our back pocket, and we're going to stick them out there. I'm sorry, please bear with me, but I think you understand the frustration. And I'm, please ask me any questions or tell me, you know, your open opinions, which you have, but I don't want this to be misunderstood. It's just a path that exists, and we've just tacked it, kind of strung it together and say, look how nice this looks. People could enjoy all these pieces of town, and we could get the state to recognize us. They sit here, they'll be enjoyed whether you folks approve a greenway or not. We're still going to enjoy these pieces of our town. You can't take that away. So, you know, either do the town an honor and give it a greenway designation and put us on the map in the state of Connecticut, or, drop it and, stay concerned about the missing number one. That's how I feel. Okay.
Can I say something on this, Sandy? So here's the thing, right? As far as I've listened to a really nice presentation from Ed, and then heard everyone. And I just want to say this. I don't think, I don't want to speak for Ed, but in general, the concerns here, for me as well, I'm just trying to understand where we are on this second one, right? So as far as I hear this, I feel good about it, right? But you should also understand that this just came before us, literally like 45 minutes ago. So we are just trying to connect these pieces as well. So all these questions are in good faith. That's how I will think about them. I know, yeah. So I would have asked the same questions if Ed didn't ask them, right? Because I have never seen this before, right? This just literally came 45 minutes ago in front of me, right? So I feel I'm a smart guy, but I wouldn't overestimate my intelligence. So I would like to make decisions based on, some thoughtfulness. That's what I like to believe. Think through something and then make sure that I didn't miss anything and then vote on it. I'm good with that. So I'm just saying that. I think people are trying to do their due diligence, and I just feel that, you should think of that as, you give us some benefit of that.
That's why we're trying to answer all your questions, because I don't feel it's that complicated. But if it does strike some people as needing a lot of time to think about it, that's everybody's prerogative. To each, how you have to function best as a counselor for the town, that's what you have to do.
No, thank you for that. I just wanted to clarify that these are all in good faith questions, I think. So anyways, anybody else wants to jump in?
Could I just say this is strictly connecting town parks. That's all this is connecting wonderful public spaces that already exist in the town of Rocky Hill. The other application that went before is just that. It's not at all connected with this. It is not a part of it. They are separate and distinct. We are not discussing that right now. We are strictly discussing connecting the parks. They put together a wonderful application. It's a plus for the town. It's a plus for people that want to move into town. It's a plus for economic development in the town of Rocky Hill, because businesses have people that want to move to town where they have something for the residents to do. So we want to separate out the two because they're two distinct applications. We're not here for number one, we're here for the second application. And if you want to, if you want to table it, if you need more information, we'll be happy to provide it for you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so do we have a motion? What was our motion? I think John just spoke. I don't know that we even have a motion on the table. So does anyone want to put a motion on the table with respect to the resolution? And John Mayer, let me just ask you first, before we even do that, is it okay to acknowledge that certain things need to be corrected in this resolution, like that title? I think that's really the only thing.
I think you'd have to take out that as compiled in May 21st. It doesn't really reference anything.
Yeah, okay.
Got to correct the spelling of Buckley.
Yeah.
My only thoughts might be, do you want to take out any reference to Ferry Park? Because the way the Greenway map goes, you start at Quarry and you want to end up at Dividend. But then when you come down Riverview, you could take a left-hand turn and go up to Ferry. where that takes you away from going towards dividend. So I didn't know whether it may be wise to remove Ferry Park from this greenway. So you start at Quarry, go up Riverview, head to Pratt, up Dividend, and then eventually you get to Dividend Pond.
It isn't, but if we're looking at this in terms of how things are located and how they're used, Ferry Park centrally located, there's a restaurant there are bathrooms, people could kind of park there. Quarry Park, you have to know where it is, for at least the first time. Parking can be a little tight, it's kind of steep, and once the foundry will be there, fingers crossed. Cirillo Park will be right there. I mean, it seems like it's pretty centrally located as far as how someone would come to town, or thinking about people with kids. Makes sense to kind of set up shop in that area and then kind of branch out. As a potential user of it, that's kind of how I would see it.
And it's a huge historical piece in town, which is part of the whole Greenway purpose, is history and scenic and recreational.
I'll move that we approve the Greenway 2 application with the understanding that the resolution needs to be edited a little bit before it is signed. So, as we have discussed.
As well as the application, right, Mimi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But we approve the concept, we can do the editing of it before it's signed.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just logistically, so we need both the nomination form and the resolution, because the resolution shows that the town endorses the form. That's why we need both.
Yeah, because that's number 12. It says, do you have the endorsed by local government through resolution or compact? I mean, theoretically, I guess it doesn't have to be, it just says, do you, but.
Just trying to see if we can make it less complex, but yeah, I guess if we just say as amended, or that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick, do we have to be specific about what these amendments are now so we can consider?
No, I think John knows it's the title, it's the spelling, and then just fixing those two things on the designation nomination form.
And what is changing number 10 to no?
Yes, correct.
And there's a second one?
Well, no, it was just having that jive with number 1. So if number 10 is no, then you're correct. There's only one thing to edit.
Do you want to expand the Greenway name, say, from Quarry Park to Dividend Pond as a designation of to from, or from to?
Where are you looking?
Well, if looking at name of Greenway, you want to say Rocky Hill Greenway from Quarry Park to Dividend Pond Trails? Or is that too much?
If we're talking about branding, Rocky Hill Greenway is pretty snappy. I don't know.
Okay, that's just observation.
Someone's gonna have to hand paint it on a sign. So.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to belabor this, but I mean, to John's point, right? Like, if it was that limited title, then in the future, when another application, should it come before us, or we get to this tabled one, and now we're at number 10 on the nomination form, and it says, is this part of something, a key link in an emerging greenway? Is our ultimate plan to be the Rocky Hill Greenway? I don't know, maybe that's overcomplicating it. And I'm just thinking maybe that's why John was saying to keep it smaller, but I like Rocky Hill Greenway too. Anything else? All right, so we can vote now. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Sandy and Ed, congratulations. We appreciate
you,
your
everybody,
hard
and
work,
thank you
and
for-
we don't mean to give you a hard time, but we have to make sure that we're representing everybody, and there is reason to give pause, right, based on the fact that the first one was tabled. So thank you
very much.
for answering the questions.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, people, it's late. Fortunately, I have one or two things on my mayor's report. It's time for the UROC Awards again. So if you go on our website, www.rockyhillct, and you go to Government Town Council, and then there's a mayor's page, you can find the nomination forms there. So basically, I will include that on our social media as well. But for those of you who may recall, the UROC Award recognizes folks in our community. It could be businesses who exemplify the spirit of community through helping others. So the deadline for the nomination forms is September 6th. And we will announce the recipients on the 20th, September 20th council meeting. And then I think because we're not getting together until September 20th, we won't have an opportunity to wish everyone a successful start to the school year. So for all the families out there, on behalf of the council, we want to say, have a wonderful beginning of your school year. I hope it's going to be happy and stress-free. And for all the kiddos who are going back, please know how proud we are of all of you, and we wish you a super first day of school. And that's that. So we can move on now to the town manager's report.
Just have a couple of things. August 5th, the police employees had a vote for representation by a union, and their current union lost, and they will now be represented by the National Fraternal Order of Police. So the former International Brotherhood of Police Officials Local 316 is no longer, and it's that new Fraternal Order of Police that will be representing the Rocky Hill policemen as their union. And the last thing is, starting last Monday, the summer paving schedule began. The plans are to do this summer Birch Road, School Street, Walnut Road, Willow Road, Southbrook Road, Springbrook Drive, Pleasant Valley Road, Sawmill Road, Stones Throw Court, Tollgate Road, and the Rocky Hill Fire Department headquarters parking lot. And the normal work hours for this is Monday through Friday. They usually start at 7 a.m. and try to finish up by 5 p.m. I guess weather permit. And that's it at this hour.
Okay, great, Mike. All right, so at this point, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go to executive session with the town manager and the human resources and legal compliance director to discuss the records, reports, and statements related to strategy negotiations with respect to collective bargaining.
Is there a second?
Second.
And IT John put you in charge, no, yes, Ed Sharma?
To close the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
If you bear with me, I'll stop everything, make Deputy Mayor the host.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Just one moment. I'll let you know when we're clear. Thanks.
Where did the time go that it's 9:30? It's not like we had much to discuss tonight.